35 minutes. Like 35 minutes to make Emma real mad. No, Scott, thank you so much for your time, man. You got the poster. I got the poster. Yours looks a lot better than mine.
Look, do you see what I got? I got an extra thing here. I got this book.
That is, you know what? That is one of my big questions. You should see my sticky board. I have so many things. But yeah, we got to talk about the vulture. I want to just show you something real quick. And this is going to look unprofessional, but this is actually more of a compliment. Give me 1 second, Scott.
Okay.
I'm going to keep it on my phone because this kind of leads into what we're going to be talking about. So it's only Tuesday, but at my big fancy theater right down the street from me, they have fall showing on a Thursday night preview. It's only Tuesday. And people are already, I don't know if you can see it too well, but
hey,
people
cool.
are already going, they're getting their seats, they're excited. I remember when I saw the trailer for this weeks, maybe even months ago, I was like, Emma, I'm going to need a screener of this. How excited are you, Scott, to get this out to the masses finally?
Oh yeah, no, I'm absolutely thrilled. I'm thrilled it's kind of going out wide. I'm thrilled it's going out in theaters. Like this film was kind of designed to be a thrill ride, like a theme park ride, and then there's a way to experience that to its utmost, and so I'm super excited for people to have the chance to see it that way. And yeah, it's always exciting, isn't it? It's like getting ready to share and being able to share. To be honest, speaking to the likes of yourselves who've had who've been able to see it, it's just. You stay a secret for so long that it's actually quite, it's quite lonely making a film in some senses. And it's nice when the audience can share it and we can kind of talk about the actual film is great.
I got to ask you, is the vulture going to make any surprise appearances at any screenings, or are we just going to keep that at home right now? Is the vulture going to
The vulture, I'm gonna kind of, there's gonna be a surprise material, some screenings for the vulture for sure. Yeah, okay. Absolutely. And he's not the only one, there's a couple.
Yeah, I feel like the vulture is going to have its own TikTok by the end of Sunday. But nonetheless,
that's a good idea, by the way.
I'm just throwing out some ideas. But all these things, and I know you've talked about this already, Scott, but let's just talk about the creation. I know it started off as a short, and then there was a lot of passion. Of course, you and your longtime writer, Jonathan, Frank, were just super passionate. We're like, no, this needs to be Hollywood, big screen. So just talk about that evolution from an initial short, then it happened, and then you guys kind of let go of the idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It started as a short idea. Like we were throwing around ideas for something that was going on where they were doing immersion shots, and it was like, what's the fear that we really want to kind of play with? What is the best version of that? And that's kind of what was the kernel of the idea. And really it was also a combination of the change of cinema and change of experience of viewing habits. I think we both felt, Jonathan and I, that like there are certain things that should be enjoyed in different mediums, honestly, and there's a certain kind of, the theatrical experience is special and it can be used in a very effective way if it's focused and done for the right reasons. So we took the kernel of the idea of the short, knowing that it was so immersive, and like brought that out and wanted to make that just to make a real cinematic theatrical experience, which we just don't get often enough, because we get so much kind of cookie cutter repeat kind of non-originals that make it through through the Hollywood kind of machine, and it's a shame. And I think like what I grew up on, what a lot of my filmmakers, friends, and families all grew up on was these more original kind of experiences that you have a reason to go to the theater for, and so it was really to kind of like base around that, and we built it up from that very simple idea. And just how do we have the most fun with this? Like we all have the fear of falling, we all know what the kind of horror heights is, but we didn't want to make it just like a cattle prod surprise or a single thing like this. It was like, psychologically, let's get really into it and really look at it and really put the audience in that position of that horrifying feeling of having to climb up this thing and then going through everything that precedes,
insane. I gotta ask you, Scott, when Grace said that she was not scared of heights, and I know we're talking about 60 feet versus 2,000 plus feet, did you take her at her word, or were there like some like nervous looks in her faces? I can't believe that she doesn't have a fear of heights.
Yeah, no. It's how much you trust that review, right? Of like fear of heights. I think I don't know if she told the story, but when we, like, the thing is, the even though the structure is not, the structure we were on top of there, because it was at 2,000 feet, essentially like at the edge of a cliff on this big mountain. When we first climbed up it, I kind of went up first, and then Grace and Ginny followed. We all went up together to the little ledge there. I remember we got to the top. Going up it was terrifying because it is what it is. It's what we captured on the screen. You just look around and you're really, really high up, and the elements are battering you. And I remember we got to the top. Getting on the top was hard as well because you had to kind of go over. It was more awkward than expected. And then we got to the top, and I remember Grace coming up, and she just looked up and she just burst into tears. And it was kind of like that relief, I think, of like she'd built up to it so much that it was like a release. And she cried up there, and it was quite like. And the truth is, it was also beautiful. Like that's the other thing. It's like filming it. Part of this whole experience for me was like finding, on the recommendation of the incredible DP McGregor that we had, was find the location that's truthfully it, right? So we can shoot these kind of big, wide, kind of IMAX scale images and really capture them properly. And so that the beauty of where we were and the beauty of where we ended up was also very apparent when we got up there. And I think we really we looked out really that it was kind of that what we filmed is what we saw, and it really kind of fed into the performance and fed into their experience, and a lot more than you would normally get. And I think if we'd done this film with green screens and the usual nonsense, not only would it have cost like $100 million to even look half as good, it just wouldn't have had the experience for the actors and for the crew and for everyone filming it. That all feeds through in my mind to what is captured and what works on a movie. Like it's like in the same way that the fact Tom Cruise flies a fighter jet and they film it for real, it comes across, right? And it's like, and it's the same here. It's like, okay, the fact they're up there at 2,000 feet hanging off this thing, you feel it, you feel it through because it's truthful,
Yeah, Scott, I was going to mention that, like, you can see those emotions were raw and they were real. And then, of course, we'll get into the storyline in a moment, man, because the story, it evolves. And then I got to say, I can't believe Virginia was so calm because with that big groundbreaking reveal that she made, I would have thought that there would have been like some of this action happening. But we won't do any spoilers, of course, in this. Let me just ask you.
Bush.
Oh my gosh, there's so much. And you kind of touched on this already, but who is your ideal demographic for this? Because, I'm thinking, is this a date movie? But I can see it with my family and friends. It's for movie goers, but just in your vision.
I think the younger demographic for sure. Like I think we even went through a process at the end of this movie. We used this new technology to change the movie to get it into to becoming a PG-13. Because the original version of this movie, the girls were so improvisingly potty mouthed, let's just say, there were like 30, 40 F-bombs that weren't supposed to be in there. And what I felt like watching the film is the film really works as a thriller. It really works at height. That's what's working in the movie. The language, like I didn't want to ostracize the audience. And the truth is, I honestly wanted a film that my kids can watch because I haven't made a film that my kids can watch yet because it's been too like I've ended up dunking people's heads in deep fat fries and exploding people's fists, and it's like I don't want my kids to be scarred like that. So this one was like a much more kind of pure form of kind of horror and thrills, and again it's more like theme park ride, right? So I wanted them to enjoy that, and so we use this new technology to kind of make that happen, because my view really is like, even though I would say it's for a wide range of audience, honestly, because there's different elements that tap into different things. I would say kind of probably a younger skew is where I think, because I feel like that, it's the roller coaster audience. Who wants to go on a roller coaster? Like, and put your hand up. And I think that's, that's probably where it's at. But I, it's difficult, right? Because I'm a certain age, and it is honestly for me. So I don't know if I can.
And Scott, let me also ask you this as well. I love the casting. Of course, we got to give a big shout out to my guy, Jeffrey Dean Morgan, man. You guys, man, I think you last worked with him on screen was Heist, right? 2015.
That's right. Yeah.
Guys, so to see that reunion, and even though it looks like a small role, it does play a big role, especially when things come full circle. But just talk about going with obviously Grace and of course Virginia, like you said, her potty mouth, I'm sure was censored enough, but man, her character was so much fun. But going with them, because let's be honest, you could have done this with two males, right? And just kind of did a reversal. So going with these two amazing female women-led actresses, what was the motivation behind that?
For the two women, like the movie started out when we did the short you mentioned. That was actually Man and Woman. That was Dan and Becky who went up originally, and then And then when we were developing a feature, we needed some, that was when we really explored the more interesting stuff in terms of character arc and survival and the rest of it. And it just became a lot more honest and a more interesting, being two women doing two friends. And it was my wife actually that kind of shook Jono and I into kind of this state of like, of seeing it from that perspective, and really helped us actually with the script. Like we worked with Sarah, my wife, quite extensively on it, to try and make it from a pure kind of experience of really her and her friends is kind of the dynamic that we kind of lifted from. And I think in terms of, in terms of what male or female, the truth is like there is still kind of two very distinct roles, right? And the truth is like there's elements of the script that were written for a man that Hunter just wholesale takes, right? Because from whether you're, it's like an identity thing, right? It's like she's the alpha, she's male if you want her to be, but she totally nails it. And I think I felt that when we had the pleasure of doing a real, it's the first time I've ever had this as well, really. It's like where we've been at a cast unencumbered, because it was kind of said to me, look, we can do this film in a multitude of ways, but if we basically have this small team, we shoot it for real, and we kind of do this kind of essentially small budget. Like the budget is paying for like IMAX scale cameras, technocranes, and the engineering and just the expedition of people. A small team going up and filming this for real gives you the benefit of choosing who you really want in the part. So you're not kind of forced into casting the wrong person for the wrong reasons. And so I went through this audition process with a bunch of folks, and Ginny and Grace just stood out so much as being honest, and just their performances on reads, they just really held parts of those characters. They are those characters in a lot of ways, right? And so, and the dynamic together in a chemistry read, it just came to life. And I remember, loved it to bits. And then with Jeff, I had a great experience with when I filmed a film called Heist, and we worked together on that and been friends. And I've always wanted, every like we wrote, like the truth is, Jono and I were like, okay, the dad, we want the dad character, we want to be the ultimate lovable, vulnerable dad, right? Like, who is that guy? We were like, it's Jeff, man. We wrote that for another film. It's like let's get that. And so we literally wrote it with Jeff in mind. And he is a favorite actor and a great friend of mine. And yes, in a moment I said, look, this is small but essential, huge in a way part. So he kind of jumped on board, and that was wonderful.
Yo, and I know we went into overtime, Scott, so I will leave you with just one final thing as I plug. I need this on Blu-ray, 4K. Is there going to be massive bonus content? Because I got to see the making of. I need to see cast interviews. Is that all coming down the road?
Yeah, making of and all that stuff. Yeah, absolutely. We've got all that stuff, and it's really interesting. Like we had, like I say, we went on a journey making this movie in the middle of the desert. We had all this kind of stuff going on. So I think it's there's a good. I've seen it behind the scenes. That actually that nicely.
People are excited. I showed you earlier. I will cut myself loose. Thank you so much, and just congrats, man. Just a lot of excitement.
Thank you.
Can't wait to see the turnout. Okay.
Thank you. Thanks, pal.